online meetings. One of our last online meetings, but as such, I'm required to read that this meeting is being held pursuant to and in compliance with ordinance number 20A14, an ordinance to ensure the continuity of government during the COVID-19 disaster. The committee members who are electronically present at this meeting are Christine, Jesse, Victoria, Monty, Betsy, that's the members that I see present.
You got Sage, right?
Sage,
Yeah.
thank you, Sage, sorry. Okay. The opportunities for the public to access the electronic meeting are posted on the Albemarle County website, on the Board of Supervisors homepage, and on the Albemarle County calendar. So welcome back to our July meeting. We don't have Lance or Donna with us today, but we have Adam joining us, and hopefully we don't have Margaret or Terry here or Lance today. Okay.
And I don't know, I'm not seeing Kendall.
Right.
So hopefully he will be able to join at some point.
Those of you who are here last month may have met Kendall Dix. He's applied to join the SWAC and his application will be reviewed, Jim, I think you said the end of July, so soon. And,
Actually, our meeting on Wednesday,
oh,
next
great.
Wednesday.
All right, thank you.
And Peggy, maybe this would be, you think this is an okay time? We could have just a quick round of introductions for Adam, and because Adam is considering joining the SWAC and he's going to listen in today. We had a nice conversation on the phone, and I think he could bring some great assets to the committee, but maybe we do a quick round.
Okay, so Christine, do you want to do that, or you guys already have talked and so?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, well, I'll go next. I'm Christine's co-chair. I've been working with solid waste in Albemarle County since the 2015 long range committee was meeting. I should say we were meeting throughout part of 2013 and 2014, and then created a report in 2015 that's sort of the template for things we can do to improve sustainable materials management in the county. Jim, do you want?
Okay, yeah, I'm the Board of Supervisors representative to the Samuel Miller District and liaison, one of two liaisons to this committee from the Board of Supervisors. So myself and Donna Price from the Scottsville District. And yeah, I've only been on the board for now 6 months, but very encouraged by what's going on with this committee and very interested. So.
Phil? You need to unmute, Phil.
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't find the button because I don't have my glasses on. Phil McCalebs, Director of Solid Waste for the Ravenna Solid Waste Authority. We have, I guess, a liaison role with SWAC.
Great. EJ? Do you want to say?
Sure. Elizabeth Jones. I am a senior project manager for the county's Facilities and Environmental Services Department, and I am staff support along with Lance Stewart for the committee.
Sage?
Bonnie Harris. I am a guy with kids, 4 kids in the public schools here in Albemarle County. Just a real estate business guy, but care for the environment. So trying to see how we can make an impact.
Sage, do you want to go?
Sure. I joined the committee, I think, last spring, and work at UVA. I'm a parent and concerned about the environment. So trying to see how I can get involved locally.
Isabella?
Hi, I'm Isabella O'Brien, and I work at the TJPDC as an environmental planner. And I also work with Sharice Franklin, who's normally here, but not here today. And we run and create the solid waste plan for the Thomas Jefferson Solid Waste Unit, and then create the recycling report for that planning unit every year. The plan's updated every 5 years, and I'm soon to be just taking that one over and being the lead on that. But the planning unit is Albemarle, Charlottesville, Greene, and Flavanna.
Jesse?
Hey, Adam. My name is Jesse Warren. I'm the Associate Director in the Office for Sustainability at UVA, and I'm also a licensed engineer, and that is the role I believe I occupy on the Solid Waste Alternatives Advisory Committee. So nice meeting you.
Betsy?
Hi, I'm Betsy Solsby, and I've been a member of the committee for, I guess, a little under a year. Although I attended meetings for a while, to learn a little bit about FIRST. And right now I'm serving on the Education and Outreach Committee.
Victoria?
Hi, Adam. My name is Victoria Walsh. I work as a sustainability projects coordinator. I've got some experience working with Cradle to Cradle, which works across kind of all the different pillars of sustainability, but I'm very interested in reutilization of materials. So that was why I decided to work with the committee.
Navarre?
Okay, howdy. I'm Navarre Bartz. I am currently a stay-at-home dad, but I also have a background in material science and engineering. So materials management is something I like spending time looking into. So, and I've been here since the before times, back in probably 2019. So not as long as some people, but kind of middling length of time on the committee, I guess.
Yeah. Who is C. Simmons? Is this a member of the public who's joining us today, or is this a?
No, this is our IT support for
I'm
today.
so sorry.
Nicole's,
Okay.
that's okay. Nicole's
Thank
out
you.
today.
And Adam, you know Anne, I believe, but Anne, would you like to say anything?
Hey, Adam, nice to see you. He knows me.
I have a question for you, Adam. How do you pronounce your last name, with a hard G or a soft G?
Just Gindel, but
Gindel.
you know, like most people with slightly funny last names, I've heard it pronounced every single variation that it doesn't bother me anymore. But yeah, Adam Gindel. Really grateful for everyone for the introductions. I appreciate that you're just devoting, you know, about 10 minutes of this meeting to doing that for me. So thank you. A little bit about myself. I am a guest at today's meeting. I did submit my application to join the committee, and I'm hopeful that I can. Be really delighted to get involved. My background is in sustainability. My entry into the field was being hired by Ann Johnson back in 2009 to work at the locally based but nationally oriented nonprofit Green Blue, which was founded by Bill McDonough and working with the packaging industry on sustainability considerations. So a lot of that was solid waste and recycling oriented, plenty of action around composting as well. And since December of last year, I've been working at a national nonprofit organization called the Recycling Partnership. And my day job is working with big corporations to get some money out of them and form a treasury to issue grants out to the recycling community. And my day job for the most part is focused entirely on PET, plastic number one recycling. So I'm leading an initiative that we've affectionately termed the PET Recycling Coalition. It's a new initiative. Suffice to say that all of my work has been on the national and sometimes the international scale. So most of what excites me about the potential of working with this committee is to hopefully translate some of the things I've learned at the larger scale down to the local and regional scale, and also for me to learn and for it to go the other direction as well. So I can take some of these boots on the ground learning and translate them up to more of the national picture. So appreciate everyone's reception of me today. I will be in listening mode, so I'm going to go off camera for the rest of the meeting, but would be happy to pop back on for any reason.
Okay, Jim has a question.
Hi, Adam. Just a quick follow-up. You mentioned applying, and I've just looked at the list that we have to review for next Wednesday's meeting. I didn't see your name on it, and I know that they usually have a cutoff a full week before the meeting, so I don't know when your application went in, but if it didn't get in, or if it got in and got overlooked, I want to know. So,
No, that's on me. I didn't get it in until yesterday. So I was, that had escaped me that there was a week prior cutoff. So that's my fault.
okay. So what happens, unfortunately, is it means that the first meeting in August will be when we consider the applications that came in after. So not to worry, it's just, it'll still be before the next meeting. So that shouldn't be a problem.
Gotcha. Thanks for that explanation.
Sage, yours did come in, so we'll be happy on that too. So.
Okay.
Hey,
Welcome.
Peggy, I wanted to let you know Annie White is trying to join. I just want to give EJ, I forwarded her the link, but I don't know if it'll work for her. Oh, there she is. She just got
I'm
on.
on. Can you see my video though? I can't see join as a panelist. Is that what I was doing?
I see your image.
Yeah.
And hear you.
Yeah, so I wanted, Annie lives in Charlottesville. You know, I've worked with both Annie and Adam, and I invited both of them to sort of check out the SWAC, see if they'd like to participate, because they both would bring a huge amount of expertise to our committee. And maybe I know we've used a lot of time for intros, but maybe Annie could just quickly introduce herself, if that would be okay, Peggy.
Sure.
Sure. My name is Annie White, and I just moved back to Albemarle County. I just bought a house in April and used to live here. I'm a native Virginian and used to live in and also in Charlottesville from 2000 to 2005, and just am returning back. I've been working on both sustainable packaging and organics and recycling recovery for over 20 years in different capacities. And joined RRS a little over a year ago. And prior to that was leading the zero waste efforts for Washington, DC was my most recent last job. So I am also currently working a lot on glass recycling, as well as some advising some rural communities up in Northeast Michigan on how to get recycling programs going. Doing drop off and other types of programs. And again, my experience in DC was working on organics and composting and more urban related recycling issues. So I'm interested in infrastructure planning, outreach, collection, you name it. I've also done a lot of kind of sustainable procurement work as well. So I have not submitted an application. I'd been kind of getting resettled here, and then was traveling for work, but look forward to doing so and joining this group.
Thank you. That was, I'm thrilled that we have such experienced people living here in Albemarle County now who can contribute to this effort. We really need all the help we can get, and we're very grateful for your interest. So thank you both, Adam and Annie.
But I will say I'm brand new at learning about Albemarle County and its issues. So I look forward to learning the intricacies of what you're facing here.
Thank you. I guess, go ahead, Christine.
Well, I just want to, this is a really terrible problem to have, but we have Kendall Dix, who I think has applied, and Adam's applied. And so that believe that puts us at 12. And so, but Annie, I hope that if that means that I think that's our limit, but I hope that you could continue to just participate as a member of the public, and because certainly you have such great expertise to offer.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that and what else we can do, but it's a good problem to have.
Definitely. I don't know, EJ, do you ever see situations like this where the formal description of the membership is no more than 12, but you have very well qualified applicants? We just see when there's an opening, or?
Basically, so Annie, of course, can come to any of our meetings as a member of the public, starting obviously in person in September. And until then, she can come to the August meeting this way. And then and as you said, when an opening comes up, then she can put her name in the hat.
And I'd like just to add that we do have sort of, participation expectations for committee members that we should review every year. There's a certain, I can't remember, it's 9 out of 12 meetings we expect people to participate in, and then we expect people to participate in subcommittees. And I know I have fallen off radically on subcommittee participation. So I think there's a conversation to be had. Maybe Peggy, Christine, Annie, and I can have that conversation offline. But I know I'm going to be in Asia this fall, so I'll be missing both meetings and subcommittee meetings. And so maybe there's something there. But I do think we need to sort of evaluate participation levels of folks and make sure we're all meeting those expectations. And then because it could be that it might make sense for me to step back and participate more as a public member, and have, if Annie can meet that commitment, have her participate more as a full committee member. And I would be happy to do that if that would help.
Well, I'm also happy to help any way as a member of the public or any way that is useful. So.
Well, that sounds great. And Annie, I think listening in at the meeting today probably give you a better sense of what we're doing. And I'd love to follow up with you at some point. We can talk more. And then you can think about whether that's going to be right for you.
Okay.
And I would just add that we've had difficulties getting our working groups meeting on a regular basis. Also, the county's really been sort of preoccupied the last 2 years with the pandemic regulations and that sort of thing. Anne has done yeoman duty 2 years as our chairperson, and obviously now is on this governor's committee. So it's very understandable if you want to take a little rest, Anne. But anyway, in September, we'll be able to meet in person again. And I think that will be great for the committee. It's so much nicer to meet in person, I think, than on Zoom screens. So soon. Normally, we now seek approval for the agenda. Would someone, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Christine, will you second or?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. This is Anne.
And I move to second it. I second
Thank
that
you.
motion.
So I think I'll just read off the members' names and everyone can say yes or no if you disagree with the agenda today. Christine.
Yes.
Anne.
Yes.
Jesse.
Yes, sorry, mute.
That's okay. Betsy.
Yes.
Navarre.
Yep.
Monty.
Yes.
Victoria. Victoria. Sage.
Yes. Sorry, I had a problem with
Okay.
my mute button.
Oh, that's all right. And Sage. Sage, do you hear us? Okay. I think Sage probably approves, don't you?
Yeah. We definitely have enough people to approve the agenda.
Yes, okay. And the next thing we need to do is look at our minutes and approve those. Will someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Anne. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I move to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's do this again real quick. Sage, I see you now. Okay. Christine,
Yes.
Anne,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes, sorry, I gotta remember to be on third.
Betsy,
Yes.
Navar? Navar?
Yeah, sorry, my mute button didn't load.
Monty?
Yes.
Victoria?
Yes.
And Sage?
Yeah, sorry, my computer froze.
Okay, thank you all very much. Good for that. All right. Moving on to our old business items, the rest of the list. Christine and Jesse, I know you met with Jay Zook, so you want to give her a report?
Yeah, should I go ahead and do that, Jesse?
Yeah, sure. And I'll fill in any details.
Okay, great. So we were able to meet with Jay Zook and also their sales, I believe it's his sales manager, and John. And what we discussed two things. One is how we can partner with GFL in order to help reinforce the message to keep plastic films out of the recycling bin, and also glass as well to their curbside customers. And then we also discussed the possibility of GFL hauling glass to McIntyre and working with the wineries and breweries to make that happen. And they talked about the fact that they have, I'm trying to look at my notes here, but they have a pretty good size roll off. And
yeah, they talked about using a 15-yard roll off, which would be big and only accommodate a few of the customers. We shared with them the data we had around both locations and tonnages, and we set up a follow-up meeting 2 weeks out.
the good news is that they definitely sound like they're open and interested. And so they're going to be looking at that information that Jesse sent, where those wineries and breweries are located, and thinking about the price point that they could do that for.
And we offered to help with customer acquisition and marketing, basically getting the word out.
Just, I think maybe you misspoke, but please don't have them deliver it to McIntyre.
Oh,
yeah, definitely not to McIntyre. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
But for customers, right, for individuals, we would be promoting both McIntyre and Ivy for the deposit of films and glass.
Right. Yeah, don't deliver glass is all I'm saying, is don't have GFL deliver glass to McIntyre.
No, they got it. They understand.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. That's great. So,
yeah, and the other thing we I don't know, we sort of made a plug for GFL to perhaps put some messaging in their bill, because the ones where they send an electronic bill out around, what can and cannot be recycled. And so they're going to look into their billing system and see if there's a way that could happen.
okay, that's great. And for now, they're still accepting all plastics, 1 through 7. Mhm. Okay. Elizabeth, EJ, I don't know if you want to talk about the standard operating procedures for Loudoun County, whether you were able to get information or you want to have that be part of your county report out.
I'll just do it as part of the county report out. That's fine.
Okay. Christine and Monty, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to follow up with the schools about composting in the next coming year.
Well, Monty, I apologize for not getting, organizing a meeting, but I have been able to make some really interesting contacts with the representatives of the parent council, and I've got now an updated list of PTO members, and so I think that I'm making some good connections from parents who may be supportive of the composting program and can work in partnership with them. So I feel positive about making sort of those inroads. But other than that, and I have spoken with the vice principal at Greer, and they're interested. in doing this, but very sort of non-committal at this moment. I think maybe there's still some questions about what the school year is going to look like. And so that seems to be a little bit up in the air, like how lunch is going to be served still remains a question mark. Monty, I don't know if you have anything that,
No, I've just been following your lead, so I'm happy to press, but I know we know where some of the resistance is, and my thought was to kind of go after them one by one as we talked about off a spreadsheet, but you tell me. I'll stand down until you turn me loose, so to speak.
yeah. So that's on me for not actually initiating that, but I'm going to work on making some progress with you.
Okay, thank you.
So just for Adam and Annie's benefit, the Albemarle County Public Schools do offer composting through Black Bear in all the schools, but it's back of the house, it's the kitchen. And we'd really love to see the kids get involved in doing composting, and also the schools now use compostable trays in the cafeterias. So far, because the kids don't do any composting, those cannot be assured of making it into the compost bin, sadly. So we're working on that. That's the gist of it, basically. We do have a recycling program from the schools for food waste, but we'd like to see it used a lot more often and get as much food waste out to composting as we can, rather than see it go into the trash.
And I can report that in terms of recycling, I think that there's going to be a push this fall, and just in terms of, I did speak here from John Coles that they're going to be placing recycling bins in every single classroom. So I think that at one point they thought to centralize it, but they are going to sort of move back to this other model of having the bin in each classroom. So I think that there is really going to be much more of a push.
Yeah, and also the pandemic has been a huge issue in the schools. In many cases, they've been taking their lunches back to their rooms, so they're not in a big hall with hundreds of other children eating lunch. And that hopefully will change with the school year, which hopefully will normalize things and get back to some routines of composting and recycling. Let's see. Anne and Monty, I don't know if you had any opportunity to discuss the recycling grants that the EPA is offering.
No, I've been a total slacker. I apologize. I am underwater. I will say, and Annie will have some insights on this as well. I mean, there's a lot of the EPA grants. If we want to do something there, it's pretty complicated to apply for a federal grant. I would encourage us to consider more some of the grants that are being offered through organizations like Adams. Annie's working with programs that are offering grants, not necessarily in Virginia, but I will say that I just became aware of the Virginia Litter Fund also offers local community grants. So I think it would be great to compile that list, and I'm sure Adam has plenty of ideas on that, and as does Annie, about what would be kind of the easiest pathway for us to potentially apply for grants for, and then for what, is it for organics management? Is it for, polypropylene? Is it for, help with the paper sort and a baler upgrade? It really depends on what it is, because then we would map it to different organizations that could help. And somebody has their hand raised. Oh, Annie does.
Annie. And Phil. Phil, will you go first, please?
Sure, just real quick, if it's the litter grants that are hosted by DEQ, those are every year. They're open to municipalities or their representative. We've been the representative for City of Charlottesville and Albemarle County for, well, since I've been working with Ravenna, so probably a dozen years. And they have two grants in there, a non-competitive grant, you just get that every year once you apply. And then there's a competitive grant if there's money left over. Last year I put in a non-competitive, or excuse me, a competitive grant for a new oyster shell recycling bin. We didn't win, so I don't know anything about how much they are. The non-competitive grants are usually in the range of, I'll say 20 to maybe as much as $40,000 a year. We take that money and we just put it to the recycling cost center. So the city gets 30% of the value, the county gets 70% of the value, and it just comes off recycling. Okay. Anyway, I just want to say.
That's right. Thanks for reminding us about that.
Real quick before though I go, Scottsville can apply for that, though I don't believe they have for quite a few years. We used to remind them about it, and I think we kind of gave up reminding them about it. So somebody could do it on behalf of Scottsville. And remember, there's a non-competitive part of that grant. So all you'd have to do is apply, and it's applying online. It's not a hard grant to apply for.
Did Scottsville just not want Albemarle County to apply on their behalf in the same way that you do for the city and the county?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Maybe it's something that got lost in a change of leadership there, and it just got forgotten, or who knows? I don't know. But anyway, it's out there.
Thanks, Phil. Annie?
I think what Ann said makes a lot of sense. I have been following the EPA grants. Their RFPs are going to come out in September. And they are currently have an RFI out for which they're seeking feedback through July 25th for how these programs should be designed. For the infrastructure, I think it's $55 million a year for 3 years they're giving out, and I'm not quite sure what the total is on the outreach side. But this is going to be all to communities versus, communities, governments, tribal organizations. So, and they are looking for how to serve rural and underserved and more disadvantaged communities are all things that they're prioritizing within that. So I do think getting the needs together, there is but this is a multiple year program too. So I can keep you all posted as those RFPs come out in September, when we'll know more about the funding thresholds and the requirements.
Thank you. That would be so helpful, because we did raise this previously. The committee raised this with the FES department, and Lance Stewart, who's not with us today, who heads the FES department for the county, just made us aware that the grant writing department is very small for the county, and that the administration of these grants is an issue where it's very time consuming to do. Mm-hmm. And that, we would maybe consider doing it for one thing that's very major for us, of high expense. And we've talked about the fact that we need new balers. We have one very old baling machine for the county that it's on its last legs, and it's going to need to be replaced very soon. And that's a big expense. But I don't know, it seemed like we would need help. The county would probably need some professional assistance to write and administer a grant for something like that.
That's one of the things on the feedback sessions that they're asking about is there seems to be an awareness that it's a big undertaking. And so they're asking for feedback about what types of assistance they could provide to communities to, make it not so hard. So that's something that could be submitted in an RFI you know, if you wanted to, if there were certain things that would make it easier for the county.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole federal contract administration is an art in and of itself, and it's not an easy undertaking. So I think that would be a great piece of information to provide back in the RFI. I mean, it's a huge hurdle.
Mhm. Well, is that something we would ask EJ and Lance to work on?
Well, I think we need to respond to that RFI right away because we don't have a lot of time. You know, that's a simple one. It's having done federal contracting. I mean, quite frankly, we try to avoid it because you have specialist contract officers who have to administer it. So I think if EPA can offer an office to provide contract assistance to make sure you comply with federal regulations, that would take a huge amount of burden off local governments, especially if these are directed to local governments to administer, or else they offer a state agency to offer that kind of, because states contract with the federal government far more frequently. You know, I just think we want to raise it as a flag first and say, we need some sort of solution for this. We don't necessarily have to offer that solution.
Well, I mean, are you saying Christine and I could contribute to the RFI
Absolutely.
right now? So maybe we could work with you, Anne, or Annie
I would
to,
go with Annie.
Annie, I wonder if you might be willing to work with me and Christine to just do bullet points that we could, I don't know how elaborate a response needs to be. Are they expecting multiple pages or
I'm
just
happy to meet
like,
with you. You know what? I think there are, you know, the question list is long. I think responding to just the things that matter to you is how I'd approach it, and just give a little bit of background on you and your program and say we're interested. And these are the things that would make it easier for us to, you know, submit an application. So I can give you that link, and I'm happy to review it. And I don't think you have to, I think you can limit your scope to what you specifically want to say.
So a request for information is really basic. It's exactly that. It's not multi-page. It's not anything like that. You're just giving them feedback.
okay. Well, I think Christine and I would be willing to do that. What is the deadline for that? I don't know if you know.
I keep it at July 25th.
July 25th.
I don't think there's a chat, so I think I have to send it some other way.
Okay. What do you think, Christine? I'm not going to be around.
How about you and I talk about that, Peggy, and see if we can rally to get it done.
All right.
And also, I just want to make sure if Phil has to leave, if maybe we could talk about our Vanderlyn trip, just because it would be great for him to hear what we learned.
Okay.
That sound okay, Peggy?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So the Vanderlyn tour is at the end of our agenda. We're going to bump it up right now. And go ahead, Christine.
Phil, is that okay with you? We just wanted to, before you have to leave, we really had, it was Donna and Peggy and Betsy and I went to Vanderlyn last Friday, and we met Andrea Johnson, and she gave us a tour. And we were really quite impressed with what they were able to do with construction debris. And so we went. Phil, have you had the tour over there?
I have.
Yeah, well, it was pretty impressive, you know, what they're able to pull out. So in addition, they're pulling out wood, cardboard, metal, PVC pipe, any type of stone, brick, rocks. I think I got that. I think I got it all. And, you know, and they showed us all sort of where it is all going. They're pulling out quite a bit of metal. And so one of the questions we had was, is there a possibility that the construction and demolition debris that's going to Ivy, rather than being landfilled, could be sent to Vanderlyn?
Well, is there a possibility? Of course, yeah, people could do it. There's a couple things. One, their tipping fees higher than ours is. We actually looked when we were not doing the tonnage we are now, but this was in 2000, I'm going to say 19. We spoke with Andrea at length and tried to work out a scheme, if you will, or a path that we could segregate construction demolition debris on our tipping floor, and that we would load trailers and ship it to them. Unfortunately, there was just no way to come to a price point where we could do that. You know, they charge $53 a ton, we charge 52. Well, we can't receive it, package it separately, and haul it to Vanderlyn and then pay $1 on top of that. I mean, that's just doesn't seem cost effective nor reasonable. And they really couldn't come down on their price for receiving, you know, their price is based on their metrics on waste they receive. So they really couldn't cut money out of what they received either. So it seemed like a good idea. We explored it, but we couldn't get past the financial concerns.
Yeah, I think she actually said that their tipping fee now is 55.
Okay. And then to bring us to date, right now, we couldn't do it if we wanted to. We don't have, there is no storage space on our tipping floor. No.
Phil, do you normally have 2 trailers parked in that bay below, or just one at a time?
Just one at a time. And that back when we were doing, you know, 50, 60, maybe even 70 tons a day, it would have been possible to have, say, in the corner, put a sort of a stash, if you will, of sorted construction demolition debris, stuff that Vanderlyn would have wanted to take. Because we would have had enough time to get the other stuff past it on the floor and get trailers moving out. And then at the end of the day, or the first of the day, you would load that material up into a Vanderlyn only truck, as it were. Right now we're at, I think this past month, 181 tons a day. And there just is no room on the tipping floor to segregate much of anything into different piles. You know, we're trying to pull the metal out as it comes through and things like that. But our biggest thing is trying to keep it from just accumulating on the floor, because we can't get trailers in and out fast enough.
And what about increasing the fee?
Oh, we could do that, but then doesn't that run counter to?
Well, if you match their fee, for example.
All that does is just drive business to Vanderlyn.
Well, at least it's getting recycled there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you know, the point was, and I'm outside of my box a little bit because I'm in a sense speaking for the county here. The point of building the new transfer station was to provide a service to Albemarle County that really wasn't well served otherwise. If people want to recycle their construction demolition debris, you know, they can take it to Vanderlyn that they want. Having the new transfer station now, our goal is to try and minimize that the extra cost that the county's bearing by operating this facility, which means we've lowered our tipping fee to a point where it balances an increase in customers. So the more customers you have, you can support a lower tipping fee because our costs are fixed. Do you follow that? Like, you know, I can build a McDonald's to sell 1 hamburger, but if it can, without increasing cost, sell 1,000 hamburgers, I've decreased the cost of that McDonald's on a hamburger basis by 1,000, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to drive business away. But, you know, we can change our tipping fee to anything. You know, we could put it back to $66 a ton, and then we would be back to 40 tons a day.
But is there a way to increase the tipping fee enough that you could afford to send some of those high value materials to Vanderlyn and keep them out of the landfill?
First thing I'll say is be cautious about using high value in the.
I understand.
But I think it would have required, when we first looked at this, I think it would have required having, somebody would need to generate another 10 or 12 bucks a ton. So our tipping fee would have to be 160 or $62 to $64 a ton. The other problem you have then is, do we then start charging a different tipping fee for construction debris versus MSW? And I will tell you that that's fraught to do that. You think, because construction demolition debris and MSW come in mixed together. That's why Ravenna has always charged the same tipping fee for both, because it's not something that, you know, you can deal with. Like you can't differentiate the loads, and people will not differentiate the loads they bring to you. You know, roll-offs come in quite often with a couple bags of just trash in them. Well, that's not construction debris. So what do you do with that? Well, it doesn't matter to us because we charge the same for both products. So.
Okay, I'm just wondering, you know, like you had the tipping fee at 62, then we dropped it to 52, and we're getting a lot more trash, and it's very helpful to our community to have a convenient place where they can quickly get rid of their MSW. We're also receiving a lot of construction debris, and I don't know that we're able to salvage too much of it. What if the price for the tipping was raised nominally to 55, and that makes it equivalent with Vanderlyn? Then people have a choice. They could go to Vanderlyn if they're closer. They can go to Ivy. But do you really think that would significantly lose business for Ivy, because they have to take it to a transfer station somewhere?
There is a magic number out there, and it's different for every hauler, and I don't know what that number is.
Okay.
But I will tell you this, having talked to a lot of the haulers, they are crazy sensitive to which place they take their facility, because they'll make a decision based on $1 a ton, calculating in where they're picking it up and the fuel cost to get it from one place to the other. So when you say, could you change it nominally? I don't know what the word nominally means in dollars and cents, because these folks that do this for a living have in their minds fine-tuned that number so specifically. And it would be difficult to find out what that is, because it depends on where they're picking up this load versus that load. Also, if I can just, 3 or 4 years ago or 2 years ago, we were charging more or less the exact same price that Vanderlyn was, and we were seeing the business go up. So Vanderlyn also charges different rates for different haulers. I know that, which we don't do. For their big customers, they'll negotiate lower rates. So it is not a real easy business to hold up and go, yeah, this is this and this is that. I'll also probably overstep and say, based on how do I say this well? Before I would get overly excited about what all the Vanderlyn says they do with their material, I would ask them for receipts on who they sold that material to and what they got it for. Because I look at some of the materials that I see that they've had in their recycle areas, their the number 2 plastic, and it's dirty, stone-filled, gravel-filled, compressed buckets of, 5-gallon buckets and things. And I remember when I was there saying, well, who buys that? And they say, oh, we're shipping this to a facility in Atlanta. And I go, I personally just don't know how the economics of that work out. Just to be blunt. I would want to proof more than of their claims of recyclability before I would go in, and I'm not trying to be defensive. We're all for it. We're actually talking with them now about they're opening a mattress recycling possibility. Is that something we could somehow divert mattresses to? I mean, we're happy to listen, but I'm also not going to just, oh, really? And bright-eyed and roll over the cliff for it.
I think that's really a great comment. And I just wanted to, Phil, I think that's very wise learning from past experience. I think asking what the markets for the material they're sorting is really important, because, I think we want to be clear if we're directing anybody, we know where materials are going and what they're being turned into. But I would also say, I don't think tipping fees are the appropriate tool for doing that. There are other ways to incentivize builders or whoever is generating this to do something else rather than take it to the lowest cost spot. I mean, recently everything's about trying to reduce road miles, but if there was some sort of incentive for builders in Albemarle County, and I have no idea how this would play out, but for diverting rather than disposal, I mean, you build that either into your permitting, your codes, whatever you do. But I think there's a more systemic way to do this rather than trying to use our tipping fees to try to drive business somewhere else. To me, that makes no sense at all, that particular strategy, because to Phil's point, we are trying the best we can to actually establish a more economic sustainability to our own system. And I think this is why in the Virginia Governor's Council, I have raised this issue of a statewide landfill tax that would generate, if all tonnage being managed in Virginia was taxed in a very modest way, we're talking about something between $40 and $70 million annually that then could be used to help these types of initiatives. And that's where, I mean, rather than trying to milk our own system, I would be more interested in a different kind of strategy to do this.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I will throw this out, the people that are doing developments, say for the university or for some of the other, admittedly more major businesses around here that are trying to get LEED certification, things like that. We have certainly seen where they are diverting their material to Vanderlyn for specifically because of the recycling. So there are sort of, maybe tangentially to Ann's point, there are tools out there, I guess, where people will make that choice.
Well, the Planning and Vision Committee working group had kind of started to take this up and got diverted by the hauler requirements, but we should get back to that, because we have wondered what kind of incentives other states may offer, what kind of programs there may be for all that C&D to be diverted and not go into landfills. And Navarre, let's make sure we discuss that and see what we can find out.
Sounds good.
And I'm sorry, can I bring up one other point or just question for Phil? So Phil, when Betsy and I were just recently at McIntyre, a couple of things that we found in the garbage can were they would look like laundry baskets. And oftentimes, 5-gallon buckets or laundry baskets, people will want to throw them in the mix over there, and wondering if there's the possibility of even having a Vanderlyn roll-off that could accept at McIntyre those large plastic items like plastic chairs or patio tables or that sort of thing, toys that are big plastic items that are not household plastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, you devil's in those details, when you start to open it up too broadly, it's going to be opened up very broadly by our customer base, and they will use it based on our experience to get rid of anything that's big that they didn't want to pay the trash ticket for. So it will get filled full of stuff. I am sure we could work out an arrangement if that was financially viable or attractive to Vanderlyn to put a can at our facility. We could find space for it. But we're not going to pay demurrage on having the can there, which is part of what that can itself has value. We're not going to pay that to them. So, there's some details that would have to be worked out. We can start talking about it. I worry about it a little bit because sorry, this is where I feel like I get paid to be the one that worries about where does this end? And it sometimes can make me seem very negative and cynical about trying much of anything. And I don't mean to be that way. I fight that, but it would have to be something that could be managed.
Anne, do you
Yeah,
want?
I agree with Phil. I think you need to be careful. I think one of the strategies is to consider an amnesty day for bulky rigids. There's a market for bulky rigids. There's some big local reclaimers in adjacent states that would be interested in that flow. That's going to have a lot of polypropylene in it. And I'm not sure that, you can, if you do an amnesty day where people bring in that sort of stuff, you have a little bit more quality control. Opening up wide, I think in some ways that's just opening the door for people dumping I don't think it would make any sense to move it to Vanderlyn. We should just market it ourselves if we're going to actually collect that. I don't think we need to have another middleman, because quite frankly, once you start doing that, you're just adding cost and impact for every step. And if you can create a trailer load of bulky rigids, which is much easier than doing it with containers, we can figure out how to market that. But I think there is a question in my mind, whether it's something you wanted to have on an ongoing basis or whether you'd offer, collection at Ivy Muck twice a year or something. And frankly, I think we could get people to sponsor that the same way you have companies who are interested in electronics recycling. We could probably find people who'd be interested in that bulky rigid flow because it is so much polypropylene.
And once again, if we're taking it and sending it somewhere, we're assured we know where it's going. Or more assured.
Happy to assure you exactly where it's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's not going into our recycling bins, it's going to the transfer station, it's going to a landfill.
No, but I mean, if we did get a whole collection of bulky rigids and we had a contract with someone who was going to take it or receive it, I think we would.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think just for everybody's satisfaction, you start with that end. I mean, we have the idea, this is where you want to end up, but you start with the end point and then work backwards to how, whether you do it as an amnesty event or whether this becomes another can for bulky rigids or whatever. I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't waste a second on it until I found somebody that was going to take it, because that always seems to be where we get hung up. Just a thought.
Okay. Well, I think we all want so badly to see a lot more material diverted and reused. And it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, I was impressed at what they're pulling out And the fact that it's not going in the landfill, like you can see the wood is getting chipped and there's an end use to that. Definitely all the stone and brick that's turning into gravel. And then certainly the metal. The
A
fact that all
huge
that
amount
metal-
of metals. Yeah.
They fill up one of those, a big truck every day.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happened at McIntyre, I hope this is okay, but Betsy put up, they had a sign about the mattress recycling and carpeting that they're going to be doing over there for Vanderlyn, over at McIntyre, to help
You
spread
just
the word.
put the signage up saying you can recycle your mattresses and your carpets now at Vanderland.
Is that open for business yet? We had been planning a tour over there and we just got told not to come because it wasn't ready.
They have a covered facility. It's almost like a tent. And in that facility, they pointed out to us the mattress recycling and the foam pads for the underlayment for carpets and the carpets. And we asked them where that was going. And Christine, do you remember they gave us the name of some foam recycler?
Yeah, I
in
just
town.
didn't know it was the process was up and running yet because they.
Yeah, the equipment's not, they don't have the equipment up. They don't have the compactor, but they are collecting the material.
They don't have the concrete to hold the tent in place and all that yet. There's a back order. The concrete block, the huge block.
I just didn't want to advertise something that wasn't live yet, and then people come to us and said, oh, they wouldn't take it. And
Well, they are accepting the material.
Perfect.
They're
Thank you.
just not, they don't have the equipment for baling it yet.
Sorry, I'm being told I'm going to go offline here in a second.
All right,
There you go. Bye.
Phil, thank you so much. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask whether there are any kind of savings for the manpower and the trucks that are used to transport the MSW from Ivy to Amelia versus just the 20 minutes to Zion's Crossroads. But I was hoping that maybe there would be a way for them to segregate recyclable C&D on the tipping floor, and it doesn't sound like that's very easily accomplished at the rate that everything's coming into the transfer station now.
And I don't know, it seems to me that I don't know, it seems like it should be the same price. What difference does it make to increase the price a few dollars there? I don't know. And then when we have so much, if you have 180 tons a day, then those other uses that perhaps we had talked about having a compactor there and having our sorting facility at Ivy, that can't happen because of the traffic now.
I hadn't heard that definitively. Jim,
think
you
that-
attend the Ravenna meetings. Have you heard that? What's the latest for a baling facility? Whoops, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. It is not yet funded, but it's certainly on the radar.
It's still planned for Ivy though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or tentatively?
Well, there was some, I was there and visited the site where they said it would go, but then there was a communication later that said they weren't sure that it would go there. So I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I thought that there was a problem because they get so much traffic in there now that it makes it difficult. So I feel like even though you're getting a lot of many customers, is that necessarily, how does it all play out if the county has to pay money to develop a whole nother site in order to have the sorting facility?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that they were developing a whole nother site, but that there already are other sites that are under consideration. So,
But those sites, believe the site that is under consideration is just raw land right now.
up north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this, steeper slopes and so.
Well, access is pretty easy, making a new entry and a new sort and bale facility needs exclusive entry and exit because of the truck traffic. I don't think, we already have a lot of truck traffic going over the scale. So, it may be that Ivy has a lot more business now, but it could be that, and I mean, Phil would know this, but is there a possibility to put a new, more exclusive pathway for materials? I mean, if congestion is the issue, I wouldn't want all those trucks going in anyhow with the consumer traffic. I think that you need to have a more exclusive, that's just a planning issue. But also, since we offer free tipping to, commercial haulers for paper, these are not trivial volumes that they're bringing in. And so I think we need to think about that as well. But just because the traffic flow doesn't work today doesn't necessarily mean it won't work. I just think you need a good planner.
Well, we'll definitely be returning to this subject, and we really need to have Phil here, and it would be good to have Donna joining us for a conversation too. So what do you say, Christine? Do you want to add anything else about?
Just Vanderlyn in general. I mean, I just want to say that they were taking PVC, vinyl, siding, and also shingles.
Asbestos shingles, and they're sucking all the nails out of them,
Well,
tons and tons of
not
nails.
asbestos, but
Asphalt.
asphalt, yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, it's nice to see all the metals getting pulled out. It's nice to see the wood being separated, not the treated wood, obviously. I mean, a lot of stuff is going through that facility and still being landfilled, but it goes to a designated C&D landfill. And a lot is getting pulled out, which is nice to see. I mean, the reason we want this so badly is the county's goal is sustainable materials management. We want to try to divert as much as we can and see these materials reused. So
and I know that, we can't promote private companies, but I think it's important for people to know that this exists. And so that people do have an opportunity to see those materials recycled and recovered.
Yeah. Okay, well, should we move on and just have our working group meetings? It's probably pretty light because I don't know if any of us met this month, but it's the middle of summer. EJ, will you give us a report out?
Sure thing. Loudoun County got back to me yesterday with a good flood of documents, including some revisions that they're making to the 4 chapters that govern their solid waste work. Some things to note. I haven't had a chance to go through everything fine tooth, but some things to note. The enforcement part of their solid waste has been moved over to their zoning work, simply because zoning folks are used to going to court and general services folks are not used to going to court. Which means that they have had to go to court for enforcement reasons. The current edits I know have been streamlined to move it from being basically administered by 4 to 6 people to 1 person. So Loudoun, like the majority of businesses, is looking at a shortage of resources, of human resources. So they've cut out what they characterize as a lot of the fat from their program and their SOPs in order to make it manageable by 1 person. So those are some things to note. Also to be noted, they have 30 haulers in their county, and we have 3. So that's also a point to think about as far as what one does for enforcements. So I'll be giving all of those documents a closer look and sending something out to the committee as soon as I'm able to call through the bits and pieces.
But again, just thank you very much for that. Just for Annie and Adam's information, Albemarle County really doesn't have any guidelines for haulers. We don't have any kind of requirements. We don't require registration. We don't require contact information, and we don't require metrics. There are a lot of things that we would benefit by knowing and having the contact information, and we want to do that. And we know that we can legally. There's no reason we can't ask callers to report information to us that we feel we need. And we have been looking at Loudoun County's hauler requirements as a model for requirements in Albemarle County. So that's where we are. Anything else, EJ, from the county?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
We have a planning and vision group, which I am the lead, and Navarre is on the committee with me. So it's very small. And we originally were working on the hauler requirements, and then we started talking about construction and demolition debris and how we could do a better job of diverting more of that in Albemarle County. We generally, and we didn't meet this month though, and we generally try to keep the committee updated on what's going on in the state of Virginia, whether there have been new reports or legislation that's being looked at in the General Assembly sessions and how far that progresses or what it's about. And there's not too much to report this month, except that there was a report that came out on the amount of trash that Virginia received in 2021, and it went down somewhat, just a little bit, from out of state trash. We still got 23.6% of our trash from out of state. Maryland is a big one, DC, North Carolina, they're all sending us their trash, New York, New Jersey. And, but overall, it went down slightly. And 73% of that trash that's coming in is going to landfills. And yeah, I guess, I mean, that was sort of interesting. Overall, the amount of waste that's going into Virginia, it rose by 1%, but out of state waste was a little bit less than usual. And yeah, oh, I did want to say, and I'm very sorry I missed the opportunity while Phil was here. I have some sad news to report, which is that Randy Lehman, who was a local waste hauler and recycler who served with Jesse and Phil and Margaret and me on the original long range solid waste solutions task force, passed away this month.
That's sad.
Yeah, he was a local waste hauler who also initiated the first recycling programs in Albemarle County, and his knowledge of the history of Albemarle County waste and recycling was decades old. I mean, he was an old timer. He really knew the whole history, and he was a very valuable asset to our committee, and strong advocate for a local transfer station, for having the ability to manage our waste in our recycling independently, and really pushed for the new transfer station, helped Liz Palmer a lot on the design of the transfer station. And we were very lucky to have him serving with us on the committee. So that's my report. And next is education. Christine? Oh, excuse me, ops.
I'm trying to turn this over to Victoria. So I'll let Victoria do the talking. And I want to say thank you, Victoria, for being willing to talk to me. We had a good conversation about things.
Yes, thank you, Victoria. I saw already that you're planning out the meetings from now until the end of the year. That's terrific.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you so
exactly.
much.
Yeah, so that'll be the first thing I do as I kind of step into this new role, and Jesse, of course, is generous to help me get used to it and understand what's needed. So our first meeting is going to be just that, see what's needed. Anybody obviously is welcome to join in, and we're looking to do that in the last 2 weeks of August.
So operations has been working really hard with Rivanna, with Phil, on a program to separate glass for recycling, like we do at McIntyre and Ivy. But we realize that Nelson County and other areas don't necessarily recycle glass or have a way to do that. And we are trying to get a program going to aggregate the glass at Ivy and then ship it for recycling from around the multi-county area. And we have so many breweries, wineries, and distilleries. It's criminal not to make sure that glass gets captured and can be recycled rather than landfill. And Christine is the head of our Education and Outreach Committee. You want to give us a report?
Yeah. So we were not able to meet, although we gave it a good go of it. But so what do we have to report? We thank you to Betsy, who has been at McIntyre. I have not been there as consistently as she has. And we did, I don't know, Betsy, if you want to report anything there, other than the fact that unfortunately there has been a accident, I believe it in Spotsylvania County, around these compactors. And now we have to be really especially careful to not put any of our body parts or a grabber into any of the enclosed containers. So when we speak to people, we'll just have to be making sure that we're talking to them before they dump their material in, because nobody will be retrieving any contaminants out of the containers. So just sort of as to be especially cautious there at McIntyre. But
how bad was this injury in Spotsylvania, or what was it? A member of the public, or it was someone who was?
It was somebody working at the facility, I believe, and it was the fatality. So yeah, so pretty horrific. Betsy, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just looked up about the death, and they're investigating. They don't know exactly what happened. The fellow had only been working there 2 weeks from what the article said.
Yeah, so we're going to be super cautious over there. And, you know, my apologies to Sage. I have not picked up the HOA outreach, but it's on my to-do list. So, and that what that was really is Sage had drafted a letter that we could send out to HOA representatives and as an invitation for us to come and speak, or to have a little blurb in their newsletter where we could help to educate people about what can and cannot be recycled.
Also on that note, I think I'll bring up that outreach to more businesses. Like Peggy said, Better World Betty was doing that really well. Terry was a number of years ago, but at McIntyre recently, Hill and Wood came with their van, and they had a lot of cardboard from cremation coffins and things like that. And the employee actually even brought a check because she thought she had to pay to recycle the cardboard. And so I think a lot of people don't know what's available. I mean, and talking to her, I talk to her more about other things that are recyclable there for free and talking about composting. And I'm thinking if we address more businesses, if get them involved, then they're naturally going to be reaching more people to think about it in their household too. So it's just throwing that out.
Yeah, it is very surprising that a business would think that they couldn't use McIntyre or Ivy for recycling cardboard or glass or aluminum cans or whatever they have.
Mhm.
So I think it would be, the more people we can talk to about it, the better. But I think that's something to discuss with Terry,
Mhm.
because they work with so many businesses on energy efficiency measures, and there's probably less room to talk about reducing waste and recycling, but it seems like a good way to reach that community.
I know from my own office, recycling all of our cardboard in particular, but everything else. And it takes a while, but then people start realize it becomes a habit, and some more of them are doing it at home now.
That's great. Okay, any other announcements, news, things that people want to share?
I just wanted to put this out to the group that Andrea Johnson from Vanderlyn was willing to come and give a presentation or answer questions. And I just wanted to get a feel from the group if you think if you are interested in having her come and present.
Like she could zoom in with us in August if we
Yeah.
wanted.
I see Sage shaking her head.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there anybody else?
Was she also willing to give tours to other folks? Or?
Yeah, definitely. If anybody else was interested in taking a tour, you would certainly arrange that. So I've got just, Sage says yes. Is there any other interest besides Sage?
I absolutely, I think there's always good to learn what people are doing. So sure.
Okay. All right.
I agree also.
Okay, great. Well, then I will invite her to come and do that. I believe she was available for that August meeting.
Okay, I think that would be great. Okay, well, I think we're wrapping up. I think we're about done, a little bit early. Thank you all for being here and thinking about these things and promoting better management of materials. And our next meeting, I guess, is August 11th. So put it on your calendar. Oh, speaking of putting it on your calendar, EJ did tell me that as we start to meet in person beginning in September, we could review the time and date of the month that we meet. I think that may be opening a can of worms, because I think most of us on the committee have this blocked out for Thursday, the second Thursday of the month from 4 to 5:30. So I'm for sticking with our usual meeting time and date. If there's anyone who feels strongly otherwise, speak now or forever hold your peace.
And just the rule is, once we start in meeting, we all have to be in meeting, right? Can we still call in like we used to?
It won't be hybrid and it won't be supported. Isn't that right, EJ?
As far as I know, that is correct.
Will there be a speakerphone?
I have not been told that has been an option, but I can certainly inquire.
Okay,
We did that in the past. We did have a speakerphone and we did have people communicate by phone. They could listen in if they were traveling or something. Could we see if that's an option, EJ?
I will check on that. Yep.
But as far as Zooming, there won't be the IT
There will
support
not be,
for us
there will
to-
not be any Zoom meeting.
Understood.
Right. Okay. All right, very good. Thanks
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, Peggy.
Have a great evening. See you soonish.